Get ready for Changing Worldviews with Sharon Hughes, the 30-minute show packed with an hour's worth of information, bringing you familiar guests on important issues such as immigration, education, the Middle East, culture, religion, and the changing worldviews of Americans and the world. You've seen her on Fox News, you've read her on the World Wide Web. Now here's Sharon.
For such a time as this.
Freeing the minds of the brainwashed masses.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Changing Worldviews today.
The way that spirituality is being packaged in America is not being done in a religious way. It actually is spiritual self-hypnosis and indoctrination into a whole Eastern worldview.
Jesus comes into play as an avatar and fits into roles such as Buddha, Krishna, Muhammad, Confucius, etc. An avatar is like a guru, dispeller of darkness, a link, a mediator, somebody that teaches and illumines and brings in truths. I'm questioning the divinity of Jesus, and this has been the biggest hurdle for me.
That first clip was by Carol Matriciana, a friend to Changing Worldviews, a former New Age adherent, author of Gods of the New Age, and 50 films, award-winning films, internationally known expert on the cults and the occult, who has spent her life since she had an awakening to what she was involved with in educating people of the snares, if you will, of what we've come to call the New Age movement. The second clip was by Carlton Pearson, former Pentecostal minister, now heading the Consciousness Streaming Network, part of the Coexist Between All Religions movement in the world, and as you heard, who no longer worships Jesus. We're going to talk today about how the church is being infiltrated with, quote, another gospel, because not only is there a one world government forming and a one world religion forming, that I believe these kinds of movements are instruments to pull people out of the church and into the one world system, the one world religion. And we're specifically going to talk about one aspect, and that is goddess worship and how that has come into the church and in very subtle ways as an example of some of the things that is going on here at the end of the age. Well, the call for all religions to coexist is increasing, and unfortunately, some, even in the Christian church, are answering this siren call to oneness, quote unquote. Well, what does that look like, and what are the primary beliefs being advocated for this oneness movement, this coexistence movement? I'm sure you've seen bumper stickers with all the religious symbols and the word coexist. Well, what's that all about? And why is it important to know what it's all about, and how does it tie into an emerging one world religion? That's what we're going to be talking about on today's show. So stay with me.
You're listening to Changing Worldviews with Sharon Hughes. Commentary on the news that's void of spin, but never short on passion. Now, here's more with Sharon.
Well, thanks for staying with me. Okay, so this new world order coming together arm in arm with the one world religion, which has been promoting for decades and decades to coexist, but that coexistence theology now is increasing in our nation and even finding its ways into the Christian church, and as a result, drawing many away from Christianity. But part of their goal, their theology, if you will, is there is a necessity, they say, to dismantle the old order and to build a new order. And so it goes something like this. The old order is dismantled and boundaries are removed, and then there's an establishment of a new world order of international unity, specifically religious unity. The Judeo-Christian teachings and morality are rejected in order to promote multi-faith values, which then allow for the coming together of a multicultural, multi-religious society. When we get back from this break, I want to play a portion of some of what we have said in the past about this very thing of this one world religion. And the reason we're talking about it is because, as I've already said, it is increasing as an ideology in America today, which are causing many, even some that I personally know, unfortunately, to totally leave the Christian faith and to embrace not just other religions, but believing that they themselves are divine. We'll be right back after this.
There are millions that are shifting and shaking, saying, this doesn't make sense to me anymore. I don't like it. I don't feel it. It's not resonating or resounding in my spirit. There's something that's rejecting it. And when we get in touch with our God self, we stop following institutional religions.
Just wanted to thank you very much for your support. Without your help, we couldn't do what we're doing. And with so much that's going on in the world, it's so important to do what we are doing. And I want to ask you if you would please join us so that our platform would increase to get the truth out on the issues.
Congratulations on 10 years. That's amazing. Radio is kind of a debugging experience as we learn more and more about things that we thought were true, but we find out were not true, and we peel the layers of the onion.
If you'd like to change the world, won't you partner with us? Just go to changingworldviews.com/donation page or send your donation to Changing Worldviews, P.O. Box 750624, Petaluma, California 94975-0624. You'll not only help us stay on the air in your area, but it's a way to let Sharon know you're standing with her.
It's the kind of education that one could never get in conventional education. And I know you bring on some great experts over the years, and it's just a great experience.
Okay, so as I said, here's some of what we have said prior on today's subject. We'll let it just speak for itself. Let me just say this. The goddess, has returned and is being revered and embraced by today's followers of witchcraft, radical feminism, and increasingly by those in the liberal church. And according to a Ms. Starhawk, an author and well-known self-proclaimed feminist witch living in Berkeley over here in my area of the jungle, she says that the symbolism of the goddess is not a parallel structure to the symbolism of God the Father. The goddess does not rule the world. She is the world. In order for this feminine age, she says, to come into full fruition, a shift in consciousness must take place in the world, a shift in thinking that will bring forth the goddess.
There's the same idea behind it. There is a move, a feminist move inside the church to promote the female, to promote the woman, to exalt her, to bring about this idea of equality.
The Sophia Wisdom School. The Sophia Wisdom School speak and connect with one of our trained mystical priests online, and will gather with people from around the world to inform them on subjects of mysticism such as prayer and meditation and blessing. What is the soul? There will be subjects about the God self inside. There will be actual practices done together. It's the same introduction to Christian mysticism in the newly establishing Sophia
this idea
Wisdom
of
School.
Sacred womanhood. It worships the woman. It worships the female rather than God, the masculine. It worships her.
Ladies, it's pretty incredible, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is. Gosh, yeah.
And, today the goddess is being resurrected by, I think, ladies, the 1960s women who are primed, the baby boomers, they're primed for social change. And leading the charge are Wiccans, the practitioners of witchcraft. Debra, what can you tell us about the history of goddess worship that would be helpful to our listeners relative to its emergence in our day?
Well, you know what? When you think about Wiccans, you think of something so non-mainstream. But in fact, Wiccan religion has become very mainstream, and I heard of tantric sex featured on an Oprah show not long ago. tantric sex is meditative lovemaking that invokes specific gods and goddesses into one another's bodies. This to demonstrate a dynamic polarity. And the rite, the great rite, is the Wiccan third-degree elevation ritual, which is reminiscent of Tantra. And so it's very much mainstreamed, even though people speak of it kind of like tongue-in-cheek, but they're not realizing how serious it is. If you look at it historically, coveting divinity was and is the Achilles heel of Lucifer, the chief of the fallen angels. So it goes all the way back to the beginning of time. And Lucifer was craving for himself God's exclusive right to omnipotence, and he was envying the status that God had given humanity. And since then, every culture throughout the course of recorded history has glommed on to some sort of goddess figure. This includes Babylon, Assyria, Phoenicia, Egypt, Greece, Rome, all of them. And we are familiar with such names as Venus and Isis, who are fertility goddesses. And also there are goddesses of war, just to name a few. And most of the goddess concepts come out of Hinduism, but actually early Christian sects venerated the Virgin Mary as a goddess. So we have God the Mother, but then we also have a plethora of goddesses. So it can take many, many different forms. And when I reference Oprah earlier, I'm speaking of living goddess cults, in that there are those that just venerate and follow as deities their contemporaries, such as in the past Cleopatra wielded total power. And today in Nepal, young girls are selected as living icons. And sometimes when you watch the Oprah show and you see the devoted, sometimes ecstatic fan base, you get a sense of a living goddess cult. And one of her guests, Carolyn Mice, a PhD, was so compelling in her message in the field of energy medicine and human potential that Oprah actually gave her a year of free television.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's at the Wisdom University, which speaks to spiritual transformation, and their favorite product, available through their bookstore, is a paperback called The Heart of the Goddess, speaking of the sacred feminine. So all of these things have developed a goddess culture, but in every event, it goes against the Christian Bible, because while a good woman is godly, she's not a goddess, nor will she ever be one. And yet godly women are forces to be reckoned with, and Proverbs 31 says they're even worthy of praise, but never to the point of usurping God's glory.
Yeah. Jean Shinoda Boland, who's written the book Goddesses in Every Woman, says that the image of the goddess inspires us to see ourselves as divine, our bodies as sacred, the changing phases of our lives as holy, our aggression as healthy, and our anger as purifying. And at the International Conference of Women's Spirituality in Austin, Texas, Betty Sue Flowers, a University of Texas English professor, stated that the goddess is a metaphor that reminds us of the female side of spirituality. She says you can't know God directly. You can only know images of God. And each image or metaphor is a door. And some doors are open and others are closed. The door that is only male is only half open. Now, this sounds like feminism to me.
Oh, yeah. And it's like the big promise is that you're purified and healthy and strong, but it's really light on delivery, because many would-be goddesses really sport a chip on their shoulder as they are out and about just looking for a fight. And in fact, Phyllis Schlafly points out that feminism, with its spiritual component, has no happy role models, because we see that these are macho feminists, and even Time magazine has conceded that, which defines the feminist label, is viewed now with disdain, and the name of Gloria Steinem is uttered as an epithet to some. So, in a word, it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Well, we're going to have to take a break here, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, the link between goddess worship and the environmental movement, even in our schools. You've got to hear this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's brand of entertainment is taking us down the wrong path. Media bias is literally warring against the truth. Education in America is molding the minds of our kids against parents' values, and much of the church is silent on these things.
This is Cliff Kincaid. I strongly recommend that you support Sharon Hughes as an alternative source of good, reliable, and accurate information.
Benjamin Franklin told us, he warned us that the founders gave us a republic if we can, if we will, keep it. The ball is in our court.
The good news is that people are waking up. They don't trust the news. But by the same token, they have to support programs like yours that get out views like mine. Anybody out there who's listening, Sharon, could take advantage of these opportunities now.
Won't you help reach even more listeners with a financial donation? Go to www.changingworldviews.com donate page and give either a one-time contribution or become a monthly partner, or send your check to Changing Worldviews, P.O. Box 750624, Petaluma, California 94975-0624. Please make a donation today.
Welcome back. Audrey, Debra, and I are talking about the very real and substantial rise of goddess worship in our American culture today. Pretty unbelievable stuff. You know, this Ms. Starhawk, the Berkeley-based witch that I mentioned earlier, says in her best-selling book, by the way, The Spiral Dance, that, quote, the model of the goddess, who is eminent in nature, fosters respect for the sacredness of all living things. Indeed, she is Gaia, the earth goddess. Because of that, witchcraft claims itself as a religion of ecology. It claims its goal is harmony with nature so that life may not just survive but thrive, unquote. Now, the environmental movement of our day is greatly influenced by those who hold neo-pagan beliefs, but witchcraft promises to reintroduce the sacred aspect of the earth that was, they say, destroyed by the Christian world. They believe that they are going to heal the earth of all the problems that, quote, the biblical God and his followers caused. Now, Audrey, you know, not only does this sound like segments of the anti-war movement that, you know, wants the war to stop because it's hurting the earth, but what more can you tell us about this goddess movement and the environmental movement link? I mean, we need to bring this out.
Yes, Sharon. Let me just start with some quotes concerning Mother Earth, okay? Noel Brown, director of UN Environmental Program, said, and I quote, we need to develop a better sense of connectedness with all of life. And when that reference is developed, I think we'll find ourselves more at home and at ease in this world. Sting, you know, you're familiar with Sting, the rock singer who used to be a member of the group The Police, said, and I quote, the Indians believe that spirits live in the trees, that the spirits live in the river, that the spirit is in the air. I think we used to believe that in the past, and if there's a spirit in a tree, you don't just chop it down or burn it.
Oh, you hug it.
Yeah, right. Then a young girl at a recent Earth Day event said, I can't separate the destruction of the earth from the destruction of myself, because we all started out from the earth. We're all going back to the earth. The Native Americans called it Mother Earth, and it is. In a gallery at an Earth Day exhibit, they had a Mother Earth wearing a gas mask, and it said under it, this is your mother speaking. I gave you life. Earth worship today is practiced by what is known as deep ecologists, and supported by such federal agencies as the Forest Service and the Environmental Protection Agency. Oh, what a surprise. And has been around, you know, it's been around in one form or another for centuries. For instance, in ancient England, the Druids, they practiced a form of earth worship, which is known today as pantheism. And it's resurrected a number of years ago in the form of, as we said, Gaian theory. And the theory attracted a cult following. The publication of Isaac Asimov's Foundation Trilogy. There, Asimov offered up the I, we, Gaia concept, suggesting that all dust, dirt, animals, plants, and people were in fact separate parts of a single living entity. The amorphous entity Gaia was also God. In a nutshell, that is what deep ecologists do believe, and if that's not a religion, I don't know what is.
Well, and let's mention Mr. Al Gore in his book, Earth and the Balance. He talked about Gaia, and he didn't talk about it negatively either.
No, of course not.
And, you know, it's so interesting, but at our corporate presentations, the director of the C.G. Jung Psychoanalytic Institute in Denver induces images of sexual encounters with the Earth goddess Gaia. So we're talking about a great love with Gaia, and talk about feminist fantastic fantasies, this one really takes the cake, I'd say.
So what do you mean she induces fantasies for others?
She's telling people to have these images, these fantasies of sexual encounters with the Earth Goddess. And this is supposed to apparently enhance their corporate performance.
Oh, my gosh. Pretty scary. Okay.
Oh, my gosh. Who are the CEOs of these companies?
I want to know.
Oh, my gosh. This is unbelievable stuff, folks. I mean, are you guys amazed? I am so amazed. Wow.
Stunned.
Well, Audrey, sad to say, one way that they want to ensure that the theory of Mother Earth, Goddess Gaia, as a living entity and man as an ordinary organism will be accepted by future generations is to teach it to our children. That's precisely what's happening. Actually, in a textbook called Environmental Science, a grammar school book, says this very Gaia theory is explained and stated as a viable probability. It declares, quote, the perception of Earth as a living being is a view held by people in many cultures. However, in modern industrial society, humans are often seen as being apart from nature. Nature is something to be controlled and consumed. Many people view Earth as existing for human use. It goes on to say, this is in a textbook, okay? The modern industrial view does not match the portrait of Earth. In 1972, British scientist James Lovelock proposed a hypothesis called the Gaia hypothesis. I'm still reading from the textbook. Lovelock's hypothesis reflected a view of Earth that many cultures have held for thousands of years. That's in their ecology and human impact section of this book called Environmental Science. Now, while it is certainly accurate to say that James Lovelock's view has been held by many cultures, it's also worth noting that no civilized culture has held it in recent centuries. It's a tenet of pagan religion, as we've already talked about, directly related to pantheism and goddess worship.
And this is science?
Yeah, amazing. Audrey, what do you think?
Well, the connection here, and to understand exactly how this is being woven into textbooks, and let's go to Hollywood scripts, and I'll even say our weather reports, Mother Nature, okay? We need to understand that basically that most things loosely fit into three categories. Conservationists, this includes long-standing organizations like the Audubon Society, the Nature Conservancy, and the National Wildlife Federation, which traditionally they emphasize land preservation rather than political action. But then you have the social greens. They're politically active organizations like Greenpeace, and they're rooted in countercultural movement of the 1960s, and they, of course, lean politically left. Their agenda usually reaches far beyond ecology to the rights of women. There we go, feminism and gay rights and nuclear disarmament and economic redistribution based on socialist philosophies, and that you find in the textbooks, tainting kids' minds. Then the third category is deep ecology. They view Gaia as the divine center and source of all life. Okay, there you go, Al Gore. It's added a spiritual dimension of the Gaia theory or hypothesis that you were just referencing, developed by Dr. Lovelock. The deeps or spiritual greens believe that Earth can save herself, but we can help her by becoming conscious of the oneness and sacredness of all of her parts. And a key spokesman in this for deep ecology is Thomas Berry, a controversial Dominican priest, Matthew Fox, I'm sure we heard of, and Fritjof Capra, author of the Tao of Physics. But the distinctions between those three categories are really fading. They're fading into one another. The conservationists and social greens realize that there's a motivating force with religious conviction, so they're embracing deep ecology. Deep ecologists and conservationists see the need for political power, and of course we know they're very busy on Capitol Hill with their lobbyists influencing legislators. So it's no surprise that the National Wildlife Federation has formed a partnership with, get this, John Denver's WinStar, a Colorado-based educational center that trains teachers in mystical, evolutionary, New Age globalism as well as practical ecology.
And he said that Gaia is Mother Earth, Gaia is immortal, she's the eternal source of life. We've said this over and over again, but here's something that he also said. He said, she is certainly the mother of us all, including Jesus Christ.
Oh, that is unbelievably outrageous.
Just absolutely amazing. But I want to go back to some of the things that you were saying before you go on to the feminist part of it, and that is on the political realm. And I had mentioned it about how they don't want war because it hurts the earth, but they also are the population control folks because too many people hurt the earth.
Absolutely.
And people such as Jacques Cousteau cut the population by close to half of what it is now. So, and these people mean business. They're serious about this
It's
stuff.
scary. They're very frightening.
Yeah. So go on with the feminism part of it.
Well, Eunice King, in the book Healing the Wounds, ecofeminism develops the connections between ecology and feminism that social ecology needs in order to reach its own avowed goal of creating a free and ecological way of life. Now, ecofeminists envision a world without, get this, authority figures or male saviors is what they call them. And this is a quote: "For the saving and sustaining power is in herself. It's filled with Earth's psychic energies and wisdom. We would each be free to do our own thing." But honestly, history proves that wrong. More than 4,000 years ago, goddess worship flourished where? In Babylonia, which is present-day Iraq. And it spread throughout the Near East and then branched off to North Africa, Asia, and Europe. Contemporary goddess worship draws inspiration from all the variations of Earth-based religions, including Native American Spiritism, which isn't matriarchal at all. It also embraces European nature religions, in particular, we already talked about Wicca, Western Hinduism, Chinese Taoism, Japanese Shintoism, and Buddhism, whose quest for self-realization and aversion for logic, well, I mean, is a perfect fit. But now all of these influences are merging and multiplying in today's self-seeking, power-hungry, I hate to say this, post-Judeo-Christian Western culture. And with the feminization of the culture and with the rising paganism in society, we see that the unbiblical view of environmentalism, it's just rampant. Feminization and environmentalism we see in terms of Mother Earth and Gaia, and they've become a part of the actual foundation of that whole movement. Paganism it's pervasive throughout environmentalism.
It used to be, way back, wasn't it, that the goddesses were the fertility ones to help get pregnant?
Oh, yeah. The sex goddess cult thing is very much a part of all of this goddess worship today. Not only envisioning having sex with Gaia, Mother Earth, we have a whole movement that is bringing young people into what they're calling a fruition of the sexual revolution, and it's putting on a pedestal the female anatomy to worship.
We are out of time for this segment, but we're going to continue in part 2, ladies and gentlemen. We'll delve into how goddess worship is in the church today.
That spirit in a church will not lead you to the covenant that God has made with His people. She will lead you away from that. Whereas the Bible teaches us that we are saved by grace through faith, and that not of ourselves. It is a gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. Her spirit will take you away from that because she has forgotten the covenant of her God, and she will take you away from that into a salvation, a pseudo-salvation that is works-based. She will say, now, if you do this, or you perform this, or you go into this meditation trance or whatever, if you do these things, then you'll hear the voice of God. She has forgotten, and she has caused you to forget the covenant in the New Testament that God made with you.
So you don't want to miss part 2. Watch for that. In the meantime, I just want to say, everyone, that we understand it's difficult to sometimes listen to the crazy things and the disturbing things that are going on in our world today. And that's why we need a positive approach. We need a place where we can process through what we're hearing and learning and come up with positive solutions to these issues, as well as encourage one another. Thanks again, girls.
Thanks, Sharon. Great.
Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I encourage you to tune in every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday on KDIA AM 1640 at 4:30 p.m. and every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sundays for our 1-hour live stream show, which you can access by going to changingworldviews.com, listen online, or by telephone at 424-222-5360, or online, changingworldviews.com. Click on the Blog Talk Radio link, and that'll take you to our online stream show. And there's there's also archives there as well. So until I see you tomorrow, this is Sharon Hughes saying it like it is.
Thanks for listening to Changing Worldviews with Sharon Hughes. You can get more information on today's topic or order a CD of today's show by visiting changingworldviews.com or writing us at Changing Worldviews, P.O. Box 750624, Petaluma, California, 94975-0624. You can also contact us at talk@changingworldviews.com. That's talk@changingworldviews.com. Our program is listener-supported, and we appreciate your tax-deductible donations to help us get the truth out on the important issues Sharon addresses on the show. So until next time, remember, stay alert, stay informed. We live in a changing world.